Hello, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well today. Just wanted to kind of tell you about the Draver app as a CDL driver. You really don't see too much information on the CDL aspect of Draver, and I just kind of want to tell you my experience from that. I'm seeing a lot of videos on just Draver in general as the app. Things from hikers for vehicles, and that includes from cars all the way up to box trucks, things that don't require CDL, um, as well as chasers. And what those are people who follow. So let's say I'm in Chicago and I have a pickup maybe in, let's say, Waukegan, Illinois, and we're dropping it off in Milwaukee. So let's say we meet at O'Hare Airport. Chaser and the hiker will meet there. The hiker will get in the chaser's car. They'll drive to Waukegan, and then the hiker will get out. They'll get the vehicle that they need, and they will drive it to Milwaukee while the hiker meets them. Once they drop off the vehicle in Milwaukee, they'll get into the chaser's car and they'll go back to where they started, which in that case would be around O'Hare or wherever the case is. And I just kind of want to talk about the CDL aspect and how my experience has been, because I really don't see a lot of videos about Draver and the CDL aspect behind it. So, one thing, I guess, one big question is with Draver and moving CDL vehicles, do you need a logbook? And the answer is it depends. Are you going over 150 miles, and are you crossing state lines? If the answer to either of those is yes, then you will need a logbook. You can actually download an app to basically have a logbook if you don't have one, or if you don't have a program that you can plug directly into the truck to use as a logbook. I know, for instance, like Garmin has one where you plug it in and it does all the information. I don't know how accurate it is, but in those situations, it is very important that you do have a logbook in case you get pulled over. Other things, so obviously, yes, if you're doing CDL runs, you will need a CDL. Um, so don't take one if you don't. And you'll also get instructions on there. So sometimes you'll have manual vehicles. I've done a couple of those runs. Primarily, those have been auction runs for me. So, it will say manual transmission. If you have a manual restriction on your license, do not take it. Other things that you should be aware of, there are things like plates, license plates. So they'll say unplated units. If you don't have a plate yet, do not take the drive. Um, so I have not gotten plates yet. What I'm told is once you do 25 drives, then you can request those driveway plates, and then you'll be able to take even more trips. Just trying to go over potentially any questions that might come up. Um, so with the CDL runs, it is a flat fee, so you're not being paid per mile. You'll be paid on what the trip says. If you are a hiker, sorry, if you're a chaser, somebody who's going to be following other people and their vehicles, then there's the flat rate, and there's also you get paid by mileage. So it's 32 cents per mile, plus you'll be reimbursed for fuel and depreciation. I have not done any chaser runs. I've only done hiker, um, so I can only speak on that experience so far. Once I do get some opportunities to be a hiker, I'll go ahead and do that. I definitely will take some of those opportunities because I know I do feel like it is nice and relaxing to be in your own vehicle, a little more comfortable, used to things as well, versus driving some of these trucks. Don't get me wrong, some of these trucks are comfortable, but there's just nothing like feeling at home, so to say, in your own vehicle. So let's kind of get into it. The CDL runs. I've been doing runs from Chicago to Nebraska. I've done one to Minneapolis as well. So what will happen is you'll open up the app and you'll kind of get an idea of what trips are available, how much those trips are, and then, like I said, if there's any restrictions like plating, if there's a manual transmission truck. I'm not sure about cars. I haven't delivered any cars. I've only delivered, things like cab over box trucks all the way up to full semis, no trailer, but just the tractor itself. Um, some are nicer than others. I will say that. But you'll know about the restrictions, whether you need plates, things like that. As I said earlier in the video, if you don't have any of those things, don't take it. Um, the other thing to keep in mind is with the manual or with trips as well. Some of them can be long trips. Some of them, it might be something like, hey, you're going to O'Hare Airport, flying out to Charlotte, grabbing a truck, and you could be driving to Columbus, Ohio, for instance, and then a chaser's going to pick you up there and drive you back, or they might fly you from Columbus. So there are things like that. I have not taken any of those trips, um, but from my experience, I've been doing, um, from Chicago mostly to Nebraska. I've done a couple. I've done one to Minneapolis, but let me kind of break down how things start off. So usually you'll meet at a location where all the drivers will meet. Sometimes it might just be you and another driver. Um, you'll meet, or it could be a couple of people as well. It just depends on how many people have signed up, how many people actually show up as well. So let's just say, for instance, we meet near O'Hare Airport in Chicago. So we'll meet up there, and we will all get into the chaser's vehicle, and they'll drive us to another location. So, like I said, I'll use Waukegan as an example. Maybe they'll drive up to Waukegan, or maybe they'll drive to Rockford, and you'll pick up a truck from there. And then, obviously, you still want to do pre-trip inspection. If the truck is not in driving condition, do not take it. I've been in that situation actually earlier today, where I went to go pick up a truck and there were some issues with it. Um, you know, as I was told in trucking school, you're the captain of the ship, um, and it's your CDL, it's your ass that's on the line. So do not put yourself in a situation where you can get a violation, you can get put out of service, or potentially the vehicle is in a dangerous state where, like, for instance, the brakes don't work and now you got a runaway truck. So keep that in mind. Always do your pre-trip inspection. Make sure that it is in a safe and operable condition before moving forward with the truck. If there's any issues, call the app. They're usually pretty responsive. If there's a major issue, sometimes it can take some time. Keep in mind, it's a smaller company. It's not a company like the size of Uber or anything like that. Sometimes things do take time to get resolved. So that's really this. I would say the downside is sometimes when you need issues resolved, it might take a while. Uh, but let's say you take the vehicle. The next step after taking the vehicle, you'll go ahead, you'll scan the VIN number, you'll take pictures of the license plates, you'll take pictures around the vehicle as well, dashboard, front, back, sides, and also one thing is it'll tell you if you need a DOT placard. Now, DOT placard is very simple. They have printouts on their website, so you can go ahead, print it out, grab some tape. I use packaging tape personally, and you slap it on the side of the truck, make sure it's secure, and you use that. One thing you can do as well, you can laminate the DOT placard, so that way it's easier to get off of the truck, and you can reuse it. Sometimes with the paper, I just end up leaving it on because it's a pain in the ass to get off. So once you have all that, you will hit the road. One thing to keep in mind is the GPS that is used in the app will be Google Maps, Apple Maps, whatever it is. For me, it is Google Maps. One thing I highly recommend is get a trucker GPS, because you never know what situation you will be in. Google Maps is not going to take into account that your roof is 13.5 feet high. It's not going to take that into account. So if you come up to a bridge and it's 11.5 feet, 12 feet, whatever it is, you better stop. You better turn around, or you're either going to ruin the truck or you're going to go can opener on the truck. And that's not a situation you want to be in. That's not something you want to be liable for. A lot of the times it is highway runs, but there are situations where truckers do get and they end up hitting a bridge that is not high enough for their vehicle. So keep that in mind. If you got a trucker GPS, use that. If not, get one as soon as you can. I have a Garmin Diesel OTR 710. It is beautiful, works amazing. You can also use it for a car if you ever need to. There's a bunch of great features on there. You can check the weather, which is nice when you're driving down. You can see, oh, hey, this, and this time, this is what the weather conditions are going to be like. There's also radar in there. So that's one thing you can do. Highly recommend Trucker GPS. With logbooks, keep accurate logbooks. You need to keep logbooks for the last 7 days. Very important. Do not forget about that. And once you get going, you'll drive. Obviously, make sure you don't go over your hours of service. And whether it's in a week, a day, anything like that. So make sure you know those laws. And usually, there's an app I can link to you guys in the description below. And in that one, it keeps a really good track of how many hours you have that day, how many hours you have, going on, the next day, the rest of the week. So it's really nice. It's very similar to a paper log, but you don't have to do all the work. You don't have to count the hours. It just automatically does it. All you have to do is just change the status of your driving. So if you're at a rest stop, put it on duty. When you're driving, obviously put it on driving. If you don't know how to use a paper logbook, just look it up online, and then you'll basically just do the same thing with that app. And it's a lot better than having a logbook. The app is free. I mean, logbooks themselves are not expensive. They're like $3 for a pack. If you get one, make sure it's got the inspection for the truck as well. So those would be kind of my recommendations. And then what you'll do is once you arrive to your location, so let's just say, for instance, Omaha, Nebraska, you arrive, mark that you're there. It'll ask you, it'll give you details on what you need to do. Usually it'll tell you, where to leave it, or for instance, if it's an auction yard, there'll probably be an attendant there who will help you. And then they'll tell you where to go from there. Otherwise, it'll have instructions on, where to go, sometimes where to leave the vehicle, the keys, things like that. There's always phone numbers you can call if you do have any questions on where you need to leave things. So once you've gone ahead, done that, and you have delivered the vehicle, you're going to meet up with the chase driver. And at that point, the chase driver is going to take you back to your location of where you left the vehicle. So, let's say we left the vehicle at O'Hare, like I said earlier, they will drive you back to O'Hare. They're not going to drive you to where you picked up the truck, whether that was Waukegan, Rockford. They're going to take you to where you left your car, or wherever you got wherever your rideshare dropped you off. Just depends on, where your mode of transportation is. They'll take you back to that original meeting spot. And then from there, once you arrive there, you'll basically end your trip. So one thing I forgot to mention is, as you're going through your trip, every step they'll say there'll be things like "I've arrived" and things like that. When you drop off the truck, you're gonna mark you've arrived. It'll have you take photos, miles, and then you'll mark that you've dropped off the vehicle, you found the chase driver, and then that you're basically done with that. And then you'll head back to your starting location. You'll get in your car and you'll go home. It's pretty simple, and it's pretty good money. So, for instance, I'm doing a drive tomorrow. Tomorrow is March 10th. I have a drive in the morning. So what I'll do is I will kind of go over my day with you guys. What you do as a CDL driver for Draver. The one thing to keep in mind is that it's not always guaranteed. You can sign up for something, but if other people do not show up, especially if there's no chase driver, depending on how far you're going, you might not have work that day, or you might not be doing that trip. So always check your phone in the morning, see if there's any other one, if there's a chase driver, if you're hiking, check that. If you wake up, you're about to leave and you see, hey, there's nobody here to drive me, pick up the phone, call customer service, hit 1, which is basically I'm on a drive. Talk to them, tell them, hey, listen, I'm scheduled to go on this drive. The number 0001. They'll ask you for the number for the job. You'll give it to them, and they will try to find someone to take you. In a situation they can't take you, they'll go ahead and they'll cancel it, and from there you'll just look for another drive. If it's something shorter, let's say, I don't know how familiar you guys are, but let's say it's something like Waukegan to Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin, not too far, where you're supposed to pick up a vehicle, and what they'll do is they might say, hey, we'll order you an Uber. So sometimes it will say that to request a ride share, you never pay for those ride shares. That is something that is paid through the app. So you are not responsible for getting, an Uber or Lyft, anything like that. It'll be done through the app, which is really nice. So even if you don't have those apps, you don't have to use them. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well. Obviously, the longer of a drive you go on, usually the better the pay is. The pay is not always the same. Like the trip I'm doing tomorrow, I think it's the exact same trip I did on Saturday. Same starting time, same exact locations. I believe it was about $330 for the trip. And keep in mind, I'm driving to the airport or your starting location, and then I'm sitting in a car for 2 hours until someone drops me off. In that time, I can sleep. Once I get to the pickup location, then I hop in the truck. I drive for 6 hours, drop off the truck, and then I spend about 7 hours in someone else's car, and they're driving me home. So that's the nice part, is that I'm not driving for a total of 16 hours, which is absolutely fantastic for me. For a chase driver, sometimes that can be pretty difficult and exhausting. You can get a hotel. There's details about that. I believe it's up to $80. So one thing to keep in mind, if you guys are tired, but you do have to book it by 5 p.m. I believe you can, do it down the road. You don't have to do it in your drop-off location or anything like that. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't been in that situation yet where we've had to order a hotel. Every time I've gone, we've made it back in one trip. So, so that's kind of been my experience with Draver and the CDL run. So I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but it's not always the same amount. Like I said, I did the same run on Saturday. It's about $330. It's $320 or $330, somewhere around there. The run I'm doing tomorrow is the same exact run. It's $410. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I wasn't planning on taking the trip for tomorrow, but I saw $410. It's not a bad trip. The worst part is just getting back. Just sitting in the car and knowing, hey, I got 7 hours here, and one thing I recommend: grab some headphones, make sure your phone's charged. Watch YouTube, whatever it is. Just kind of keep yourself occupied in the car. Try to get some sleep too. sometimes the chaser might appreciate it. I know I've been in a situation before where I helped the chaser drive home for a little bit because he's getting really tired. So, and one thing, obviously, careful speeding. I mean, I've been in situations where the chaser gets pulled over multiple times. Um, it's obviously you're eager to get home. It's been a long day, but just watch your speed. That's the only thing I can recommend. Um, and then, yeah, I just want to apologize for the mess I have behind me as well. I'm just remodeling my kitchen right now, so there's a bunch of random crap back there, but it's definitely worth the wait, and I can't complain. If you guys have any questions regarding Draver and the CDL application of it, give me a holler, let me know. Like I said, I'll go ahead and link the app below for the logbook. It's absolutely free. It's a great tool, better than a paper log. Um, with a paper log, you kind of have to count everything out, and you're just writing stuff out, and it's just kind of annoying when you can just hit a button on your phone. Boom, I'm on duty. Boom, I'm driving. Boom, I'm off duty. So it just makes it super easy, super nice. You're not sitting in your truck writing stuff down like, oh, this is where I stopped. And it does use GPS location as well, so it knows exactly where you are stopping. And in a situation you do get pulled over, it's very easy to show your hours of service for the last 7 days. One other thing I should mention: if you see an open way station, do stop there. You will not have a pre-pass. Just stop. You don't want to be in a situation where you blow past the way station, you get pulled over, and now you have a level 1 inspection, and now you're going to be late for your drop-off, or you're going to get to the drop-off location and the place is already closed, and then you're stuck with the truck for till tomorrow, and just don't be in that situation. So it's a very important thing. If you do see an open way station, just stop there. Um, it'll slow you down a little bit, but not as much as getting pulled aside for a level 1 inspection because you decide to blow a way station. The DOT officer is having a bad day. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions, anything I can answer for you. I haven't been doing this for too long, but like I said, I haven't seen a lot of videos on the CDL aspect of Draver. So just wanted to kind of go over, my experience with what it's been so far, and go from there. If you guys have any questions, let me know. And as always, Callie the Trucker, and I'm out. Have a fantastic day, everyone.